what do I want to do after high school? Everybody keeps asking me, do you have any plans? What are you going to do after high school? And you just don't know. But one thing everybody has to face is the question of college. Is it what God wants for you, or is it not? And so today I'm going to go over some questions to ask yourself before you make that decision. I don't know if you know this or not, but I wrote a book called Faith and Finance, Peace with or Without Prosperity. And in that book, it talks about my husband and my story of college. I went to college, I had my master's degree, and I did it debt-free. My husband, he went to college and he got a degree the traditional way where he got a student loan. And then I share how that impacted our lives. One of the reviews on Amazon says that this is an excellent book for people starting out in life who don't want to make major mistakes with their finances. And so the first question you ought to ask yourself is, do I have the cash to go to college? Because one of the big ways you can tell if the Lord is opening a door or if you're pushing it open is if it's just readily available. Are you really having to jump through hoops to financially get there? How is that situation financially going to affect you at the end? Do you have a scholarship? Does that scholarship last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Are you going to start something with a scholarship and then end up with $30,000 worth of debt? Those are questions you really need to ask yourself because they're going to impact your future. And so the first thing that you need to look at is your finances and ask yourself, is this an open door for me? The second thing you need to ask yourself is, do you really believe that college is what you want to do, or does it feel like the safe thing to do? Because you don't really know what is the next step, and everybody else tells you that you need a degree to get a good job, and so why not? Is that where you're at? Because if you don't know for sure what you want to do, before you ever invest any money in that unknown, you could step back and look at so many other options. And so I want to ask you this. Is this what you really believe God is leading you to do, or is this what somebody else is leading you to do? The next question you should ask yourself is this. When you're going to go to college, is this going to enhance your spiritual walk with the Lord, or is this something you need to do to make sure you feel financially secure so you can get a good job? Because if the success in your life depends on fulfilling God's purpose for you, would He ever ask you to do something that's going to deter from your relationship with Him? And so I would look at the college schedule. Let's say you do have all the money and it's all completely covered. Look at your college schedule and say, is this going to take me out of church? Is it going to be where I don't have time to be involved in ministries? Or even the question of your devotional time and your prayer time. Are you just going to be so stacked and so tight that your relationship and your walk and your fellowship with the Lord is pretty much struggling because ultimately you're putting something above Him? Would God ask you to do something like that? One of my big passions for you is that you will not only know what God wants you to do in your life, but you'll be able to have some steps to where you can go through that transition with peace and confidence and say, I really prayed about this, and I know that who God made me and my skills and my talents and my bent is really directing me in this area. And I've studied the Bible and I've thought about it. I've had wise counsel, and I know that this is the path that God would have me to go. And this question that I want to ask you is, have you really diligently prayed and thought about it and gone through some steps to see where does God want you to go in your life? And is college a part of that? Is college necessary? Do I someday want to stay at home with my children? Am I going to go to college, earn a degree, get into a field, and then how will I feel about stopping that? And all of that I've invested seems all for naught for an entire next season of your life. And so another question you could ask yourself is there a field that I can start working in right now in my life that will actually enhance my family life and my marriage. I know learning small business skills, those are things that can enhance your life, and you also have flexible schedules that you can do now, but then you don't have that guilt of surrendering them, or even the temptation of, well, I make more money than my husband, and so I'll just keep working and he can be the stay-at-home dad. Those are things that you can look at right now. And I totally lost track of what I was saying because there was a fly and I had to kill it. Okay, so the next question is, do I have a specific career field for which I'm aiming? There are some career fields that you absolutely need a college education for. I think of a physician's assistant, a midwife, a nurse, a lawyer, an engineer in a specific field, maybe architecture, web development. You don't really need a degree in that, but it helps to have education in that area. There are specific fields that you need some higher level education. That is something you really need to consider. But if you just feel floundering and you feel like, well, I can go get my core classes, I can get an associate's degree in nothing, and then maybe I'll figure it out, that is when you need to pause and say, wait, hold on, are there some other options? Do I really want to spend that money that I could be investing in something that can help me in the here and now? Or do I want to use that on something that I may never, ever use? And so this is a matter of stewardship. Do you need to use that money where you're going, or can it be used someplace else? And so those are the next questions I want to ask you. A technical field. Those usually cost about $3,000 to $5,000 for the whole thing. And so you can look at that and ask yourself, if I have enough money for my first year of college, could I invest that in a technical field? Maybe this is a starter job, because chances are you might, when you're 26, 27, 28, find that, hey, this isn't what I really wanted to do. But you can have a starter job where you're at and invest some of that higher pay scale that you're going to get and save that up. And then maybe later on you'll find, I do want to go to a college because I have my feet a little bit more on the ground. I'm a little bit more experienced. And so I saved up $30,000 in the past 5 or 6 years, which is totally doable. You don't need to go into the military for 5 years to get them to pay for your college. You can just be in an industry for 5 or 6 years, save up that money, and pay for a different career field or education. And so have you considered a tech or a trade school that has a lower cost that you can do right now? You can even do it in high school, and you can have an apprenticeship and then use that as a stepping off point. I want to take a moment and ask you this next question. Have you considered the higher paying entry level fields? I went online, and you could do the same thing and look them up, but real estate, you need a little bit of training and a certificate and a lot of motivation. And another one is a postal worker. Those are solid jobs. And if you want a little bit of freedom, you start out as a part-time postal worker, you're gonna grow into it. I'm telling you, that is an amazing career field. You just have to take a test and have some motivation and stick-to-itiveness. Another area of work is an admin staff. If you start out in the beginning as maybe a bookkeeper or a receptionist and assistant, and you develop those skills and an excellent reputation for the things that are on the 7 characteristics on my video of what you can accomplish now as a teen, if you develop those characteristics and you bring those into an entry-level job, my goodness, you will stand out. An executive assistant who's been in the admin field for, you're gonna have to gain some experience, but I'm just telling you, you start out and you can end up making bank in an admin field, which you could save your $30,000 in the 5 years if you want to have a down payment for a house, or if you want to go to college later on. But it is an entry-level field that will take you places. Another area that a lot of people don't look at is customer service and sales. Insurance, you don't need a degree to get in insurance. Working for T-Mobile, look at working for any sales organization. And if you have the personality to get out there and to make connections and to really be on top of it, you know you're self-motivated. Sales is a field that needs no formal education, but is one of the highest paid areas of all fields, because that is where the money is at. But a side note, you have to look at an area of sales that actually has a higher income base. There are some areas that you're just going to be making pennies on the dollar, and then some that you're going to be making hundreds on the dollar. And one of those areas of sales is a financial advisor. Financial advisors have to be good in math, they have to have people skills, and they need to just be motivated to get out there and communicate and make sales. But it is an excellent field if you can show that you have the initiative and the level of working with numbers that is needed. And it's great to start early out in life because you don't have a lot of overhead, you don't have a lot of costs. You could be living at home and developing your clientele, and then as you grow older, it's just going to multiply itself because of the connections that you've made. Another one is a title examiner. Another, a DMV, working for the DMV. Government jobs pay well. A licensed examiner, after years, they have an excellent pay level. And an event planner. Those are all things that are certifications or entry-level fields that you work your way up in. Have you thought about those? Because you don't need to spend the next 4 years to get a degree, not knowing what you're doing, and then sometimes end up in one of these jobs anyway. Have a little bit of initiative, learn what it takes to write a resume and to get yourself out there, learn some networking and self-marketing skills, and start pounding the pavement and making connections with people so that you can get these jobs. The next field is for a specific type of person. This is the field of being an entrepreneur, and I really would encourage every female to seriously consider this, because if someday you do want to get married and someday you do want to be a stay-at-home mom, the skills and even the business that you learn as an entrepreneur can be done from home. And so I would look at your life and say, is there a specific skill that maybe I could teach? Am I a good violin player or a piano teacher? Those are higher end paying businesses. I think that cleaning houses, you can start out cleaning houses and then you can develop it into a business to where somebody else is cleaning and you are working on your business rather than in your business, and you can do that from home. You can be a homeschool mom and still manage a business that you started when you were 18, 19, 20. Maybe you were looking into real estate and so you bought a rental and you have developed some areas of passive income. If you have that entrepreneurial spirit where you know you can get out in there and get the job done, then in 5 or 6 or 7 years, when you want to stay home, your business can sustain itself and you can manage it without actually being involved. And maybe it's something that your husband also has an entrepreneurial spirit and he wants to work with you on it. It's just always a great option if you know how to make connections and you like to get out there and you like to meet people and you find that you're a hard worker who's willing to invest some time in learning how to market yourself and learning how to meet more people. That is the big deal. Meet more people, advertise who you are, and just do a good job with excellent customer service. And you will find that a keeper at home, if that's where your heart is and you're a little bit of a go-getter, this is an excellent field to consider. I go into this a little bit more in depth in my devotional, Amazingly Deep Roots for a Fruitful Life, and I talk about how to examine your life and your skills and your interests and really look to a field. If you're not sure what any of this means to you, go ahead and get that book, and you can walk through those steps. Has some verses and some areas of prayer that you can really make personal in seeking and fulfilling God's will for your life. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. Have a great day.